Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your Commander-in-Chief for my community, my residents, but also to put your city back together. I want to begin my podcast by telling you the first thing we have to do is bring law enforcement into Abbotsford, and that is the RCMP. Long overdue. The corruption was too deep, too embedded, and too many buddy pals and friends. Attacks on residents, threats by the Abbotsford men that were in uniform. And we're going to go into a video today and I'm going to outline that all, but I'm not there today. I'm here today to do something. I'm down here on Valley Road. I want to help David Eby. I want to give David Eby a conservative lift up today, you might say. Valley Road is the bird sanctuary where everybody works and walks through here after work for a relaxing moonlight walk with your pal, your buddy, your pal. Not only that, it's a big environmental, it feeds the fish here, and it's all this. This is where Henry was going to drain the swamp, and him and his buddies were going to develop all this land for warehouses. Let me tell you, with my experience, I made it clear from all the big developers that I worked and knew the kickbacks, the fraud, who you need in planning, and where is Patty Ross, the activist, when things are happening? Oh, Henry needs me for a vote. Where's Patricia Dreesen, the one that got jacked over by all her friends in the city working for Archway and everything else? This is how Henry was getting the decisions over the general public, and Darren Brown showed me Henry's house is just up and behind us here, where he took councils in and said, on Monday night, I need you to pass it for Cooper's Farm. I need you to do this, this, this. If they didn't follow Henry's procedure and listen to Henry, the next morning they found themselves on the newspaper scandaled like Henry was doing to Suk Mangale, Bruce Banman, Corky Neufeld, Manji Sewing, everything, to control the city for the official community plan, which was bigger than meth labs across Canada and everything. It was greed, pure greed, setting his friends and his developers lobbying. And if Dreesen didn't buckle and follow, the next morning she would find herself probably being charged and humiliated and everything else, which she should have knew conflict of interest. Everybody could have told her that. So what's here at Valley Road? Well, when the homeless were being pushed by the Abbotsford chiefs crying for Henry to get that surplus money out of the province and the federal money, you can see Brad Viss all about the flood victim, the flood, I need that money, I need that money, I need that money. Jobs weren't going to tendering. They weren't getting bid on Abbotsford residents to have the work. It was all Henry's buddies. And it was backlogging, and you could see it. Permits in Abbotsford were taking the South Asians up to 2 years to get it because he was giving his friends in the city pressure on for treatment. I made it clear. You want your project ahead of everybody else. You're going to pay overtime. We'll bring other experienced people in from Vancouver. We'll get rid of the garbage of Rob Isaac, Peter Speranese. We'll clean this, and we'll get people that guarantee to look after the community, and the communities get to say. On Valley Road, you can see right across and behind me, it's all trucks. See all them trucks? They carry antifreeze, they carry diesel, they carry many, many toxics, even without, they wash their trucks here. Who knows what's in them, okay? And what they're hauling all day, contaminated soil. Well, that soil now is all contaminated, so you cannot dig, you cannot develop, and you cannot even crack the ground. You can't even do it. And you gotta leave the soil alone now. But what's proposed is a sneaky little project from A2 to A12 for warehouse tailtops, because warehouse square footage, 20,000 foot is 70,000 a month, and it was that we saw it on Riverside. This is possible because of Henry's son, Darren Braun, was the economic development officer. When Henry didn't expand the bus loop, or the bus station workyard, he knew to jack it out of there, bring it down here to Highway 11 next to his, free up that land for warehouse tail-ups, log Orion Construction in, and the scam began. I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire. Ed won't say nothing because then I'll tell on Devon Roy, Pacific Peak Homes tied to the verse, everybody will go under. What was supposed to take place here? Everybody lobbied from the community that David Eby needs to put the homeless here and the temporary shelters here, because that way it would help the homeless, and that soil is contaminated, and we could put the temporary shelters here for the homeless. Henry then used the manipulation of his police chief to get him behind Walmart and then say, we got a spot. We don't need to put him here because now the pressure's off of us, and now we could get this zone. When he knew that this was all taken care of, he got Ross and Vicky Hopes to write the attack on David Eby. You got to give David Eby a hands up, Conservatives. This is the cowardice of backstabbing men that went into cities to fill their pockets. And Ross Siemens knew that he could have picked up the phone and said, listen, Mr. Premier David Eby, we need you to hold off for another month till we got something in place. You can't just boot the homeless out in the cold. Look at me put rocks on on Gladys Avenue. Look at the attack on the homeless and everything. They didn't have everything prepared. But this plan was purposely blocked, knowing the soil was contaminated and everything. And now what are we going to have? Treason? We have Abbotsford First, that was run by Marcus Dalvis, and Marcus got his reward for the tower. We need the decision to say experts are coming in, and they're going to pass this, because you know how much it is. Look at that little red sign up there in blue, telling you how much warehouse square footage is. I made it clear. Abbotsford is long overdue for the RCMP, and where the gold mine lays is in development. It led to threats, a man getting in his car, running you over and leaving you for dead. It meant the police chief not following protocol. It meant Keelan Olenoff going to Henry's house and up there every day. And in my opinion, when he said there was millions of dollars in cash in Henry's safe, it must have been the shit he bust off the street and took it there. And the whole thing was out. One man had total power and manipulation over Abbotsford, along with Ed Fast, Mike DeYoung, and a scandal in the newspaper. This is why David Eby's getting hammered that on behind Walmart that the homeless got booted out, and Vicky Hopes wrote that article. Wrong. Wrong. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. Because this is where the homeless shelter should have been, on the old dump site and on that on that piece of property. And gosh, I would even ask David Eby to expropriate the land like Henry was doing, and needed to come in and take it and relieve the pressure off the Premier. If you look at the Premier, David Eby, his eyes are starting to dilate. You see his sad face. It's because the constant manipulation of the pressure. And all he needs now is to be hammered by the opposition about this stuff. So I don't want these abusive attacks to take place with the provincial or federal government on a man that wanted to own a town, brutalize a town, and then put the blame somewhere else could he escape it. We have an incompetent police department, just junk. It's just absolutely junk's gonna bail in every door. The men are junk. I don't even know how they get out of bed. Just junk. Got in politics and figured they were gonna threaten politicians to clean for Henry to load his pockets. So to Patricia Dreesen, I'm gonna ask you again, you need to resign, and you need to get out there with your Archway director, because you're the director, and start advocating for the homeless for the right reasons instead of the wrong reasons. And this is why you do not see Rob Santiago saying, I have an Archway when I'm supposed to look after the vulnerable and everything else. David Eby is wrong kicking the homeless out in the cold. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So Ross made sure with Patricia Dreesen to Archway, they got $35K in order to shut Rob Santiago's mouth, because we'll give it to you. We demolished the food bank, and we know we hurt you, Rob. We don't want you to hurt us, Rob. We need you going into the election for votes. We're going to group poll like we did. Remember, in Henry's church, our boy's weak, but he's still our boy. We need him. And so for $35K, we'll give it to you in the name of domestic violence when Abbotsford's the second lowest in BC. So to David Eby, I want you to have a look. This is why you got shafted, and this is why you got blamed by our cowardless mayor that's saying you put the homeless out in the cold. Pretty soon he's going to say you ordered the rocks on Gladys Avenue. You went in and ordered that the city of Abbotsford put rocks down Gladys Avenue to remove the homeless in front of the food bank and force them between the train track, because it was you, David Eby. You went into the city and did it. Everybody knows David Eby didn't do it. Everybody knows that Henry's calling the shots to run Ross Siemens, and it needed to stop. I'm live. Valley Road, Abbotsford, British Columbia.